I'm Billy Lippert, Modular Market Sales Leader for Upside Innovations.
I'm Eli Boyd, Project Management for Upside Innovations.
Today we're going to tell you a little bit about how to measure for your Apex system ramp deck steps.
Yeah, we'll talk about everything we'll be doing to make sure we can adapt to any site changes and last minute things that might pop up.
We understand in the modular industry, not everything goes to plan 100% of the time. So Upside's here to help make your life a little easier when you're planning your project as well as executing it.
Yeah.
First thing that we see as far as estimating a modular project, a lot of times architects will draw things on the plans where even though it looks great, sometimes it always doesn't work out as planned. So one of the first things that I recommend, even though the elevations are shown at certain heights on the plan, I know, and Eli knows from basically doing many projects, that we should budget, estimate budget for a much bigger ramp system. And Eli, a couple things that our Apex system can do on site where it's not a problem.
Yeah, we all know things change quickly on a construction site, and in the world of modular, things change even faster. So if you've got an electric box going in right where you were planning to pour your sidewalk and everything has to change on the front of that building, it won't take us any additional time to reconfigure our ramps and get material out there that'll work for your application.
The good thing is even though sometimes we're quoting a 40-foot ramp, not all 40-foot ramps are the same. You're going to have a straight ramp. You're going to have an L ramp. You're going to have a switchback ramp. You're going to have platforms in between buildings. The best part about the Apex system is it's plug and play. I mean, you got a bush 20 feet out. All we do is add one of those Apex platforms, turn it 90 degrees, and we still got a 40-foot ramp because our elevation's 40 inches.
Yeah.
What are some other things, Eli, on site where, hey, we need to change something on the fly, even though it's the same product?
Yeah, let's say you're planning on a 36-inch drop from the threshold of the door to the concrete, but where you're pouring your sidewalk, you're another foot below grade. With adjustability on legs on our ramps and platforms, it won't be an issue to just add an extra 10 foot of ramp, set everything a little higher at the top end, and bring it down to the sidewalk and switch it back so it lands in the same spot. It's you have a lot of adjustability, and you can kind of manipulate our ramps to fit almost any application.
I think the best part about it is, in the industry, it's pretty difficult in terms of sending product out and saying, hey, good luck. Eli's with us as a project manager. Pick up the phone, call, talk to him, tell him what's going on site. He'll make sure that the product you get on site, you're not scratching your head saying, hey, how do I put this thing together? Where's this thing going to land? Eli and the engineering team, they'll walk you through the whole way, both before, during, and to make sure that when somebody cranks that last wrench, we don't have any questions.
We know how many things can go wrong on site, so if we can prepare for all of them and make sure we get something out there that works with your grade, getting it installed is the easy part.
As far as the one end of the building to the next, we all know that the building setters plan to shoot for that magic number, that number that's on the drawings. What we understand as an access company is that left side compared to that right side is not going to be the same. So the good thing about it, if you have a platform run that's 100 feet from the left side to the right side, what are some things, Eli, that you look for, you talk about, when trying to plan this perfectly?
Yeah, so first we need to know what the ground looks like. How's the elevation changing from one end of the building to the other? Are there any obstacles on the ground we need to look for? Or is there HVAC on the walls? Do we need to build some platforms around and add some additional railing? How far out are those platforms going? Are we kind of losing grade, and do we need some longer legs? We've got a lot of adjustability with our legs, and it makes that part really easy. But once you get to the end of the platform where you're going to have your ADA step, that's where we need to really hone in and get some detailed site measurements, because you want that thing to sit square, and you don't have as much adjustability at the end like you do with the ramps.
So our Apex system has the adjustable legs for the platform, adjustable legs for the ramp. But what you're saying is we really need to hone in on where both the entrance of the step is, as well as the entrance of the ramp is.
Yeah. And that's something, if you don't know what you're looking at on site and you haven't done much measuring, call us up. We'll walk you through exactly how far from the door you need to stand and where you need to measure and how to use a string line. So it's worth taking the extra time to make sure you get that part right, because that's the most crucial part.
So that's another thing that you'll do. You walk the customer through and say, hey, we need a measurement at the bottom of this step.
Mm-hmm.
We need a measurement at the bottom of this ramp, as well as a measurement along the face of the building.
Yeah.
Is that going to help them out?
Oh, yeah. And site pictures are key. If we can get pictures of every angle, and it helps us look out for things that, end customer may have missed, you may have missed. Conduit running against the wall, we can't put a platform up against. That stuff is good to see. So, if we don't have our guys on site, as much visibility as you can give us, the better. Now, once we have our crew out there, especially if we're doing the site measurements ourselves, it's just such a smooth process, because we can just get our guys out there with some measuring equipment and get it done right quick.
So that's a good point too. Even though we plan to order things, send things, hit your timelines, it's going to take less time to get this information out there for us to ensure that we're shipping the right material before it gets on the site. Because I got a feeling if the material gets out there and the site conditions aren't what everybody planned for, we're going to run into delays. We're going to run into the wrong material. The good thing about the Apex system, it's prefab, but finalizing with the project manager on the project, that's going to be the best bet.
Yeah. You can make almost anything work with the Apex system, and if you have a very specific application in mind, you need something narrow, it's something we can custom fab too. But just because you have last minute changes on sites, that doesn't mean you need to custom fab. We have everything in stock to make it work. If you're staying within normal confines of construction, you're not doing anything crazy, Apex system will work great.
Yeah. Obviously, the most desired surface for grade is concrete.
Yeah.
Preferred choice in terms of being able to anchor everything down.
Mm-hmm.
Feet, steps, ramp, all the legs can be anchored down on the concrete. Projects, I would say, obviously, you can control the grade, make sure you hit the heights on the plans, but Upside understands that that perfect concrete sidewalk or landing pad isn't going to always be available.
Yeah.
What kind of surfaces can we install on our product on?
We've never run into anything where we couldn't do it unless you were in a tar pit. If you're on grass, gravel, dirt, tarmac, any kind of asphalt, we have even ways we can anchor everything to the ground, whether it's earth anchors and straps or asphalt anchors. If you need it there to pass an inspection, we can get it done. But really, even if we're just lagging to the building platform right under the threshold, it'll work just fine on some ABS pads.
So also we understand that some modular sites are in a gravel pit. Some modular sites are in a car sales lot.
Mm-hmm.
Some modular sites has really nice, landscaping, shrubbery, trees. I mean, what are some things that we do as a company to best plan for, this?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's all about finding out as much as we can about the site. Where do you want this ramp to end? How far out can we go before we have to switch back? Or, what obstacles are on site that we have to avoid? Is there handicap parking that we have to land nearby? And, are we keeping it there? Like, are you moving this building in 6 months? Do we have to plan to deinstall this thing? It's all stuff we can do, and these things come down just as quickly as they go up. Half a day's work, some of these ramps.
That's a good point about moving it too, because we know that there's permanent modulars. We know that there's temporary modulars. Sometimes these sales offices, sit for a month or two, break down the Apex system, load it up, bring it down the road, set it right back up. Say your elevation at one site's 40 inches, your next site's 50 inches. It's as simple as adding one 10-foot ramp section.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's extremely complicated projects.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty common now for modular buildings to be stacked, and of course there's doors on the stacked modulars, and the complicated projects are probably the ones that you like to dig into, figure out. As well with the engineering team. Second story applications, I see them quite a bit these days, especially when the sites are tight on space. Same kind of deal, measuring for that, correct?
Well, it gets a little more complicated than our ramps. It's not as easy as just taking a measurement from the door to the landing. I mean, with these, you're going to need to design this stair tower. You're going to need structural calculations for your concrete pads sometimes, and that concrete will be poured after this plan has been made, and sometimes even after we've already fabricated the stair tower. So if all of a sudden you're landing in gravel off grade, it can be challenging. That's a big change. So luckily it's still a modular design. We could take that bottom part of the stair tower, replace it with something longer, or even work our way higher up in the system, replace a smaller step and make it a little bigger, or work with the ground. But
so the main components, of the decks can stay the same.
Yeah.
Legs can be swapped out. Even if you're doing a stair tower, you can keep either the first, second, third riser, and then potentially swap out the last one if the site changes to where it wasn't planned. Right?
Yeah, and if you have a big change or a big drop in grade where you weren't expecting to have one, or concrete had to be removed to kind of fix a drainage issue on site, you could just keep building down, add an additional platform and another smaller step, and just create a whole new landing. You have a lot of options, but it does take a lot more prep work. And
so is that something that the customer's drawing out designing, or how do we handle when somebody says something like that?
Yeah, it's a team effort. We have to work together. We have to design something that fits your application or your idea. Sometimes the architect will have something already drawn up that they want us to match, or sometimes we'll just see a blank wall and figure it out. A lot of back and forth. The PE will get involved if it's a really big project and get stamps calculations for us. But it's really how can we design this stair to do what you need it to do.
Yeah, I mean, all good stuff today. We talked about planning for your Apex project.
Yeah.
What happens when things don't go as planned, and I think everybody can attest that in modular construction, things typically don't go as planned. So there's a way out. As far as talking through it, getting it there, getting it installed. That's something that we make sure that gets done.
Yeah, every project's different, but product's the same. We make it work for every application. I think it's fun. So
thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the next project.
Of course. Thank you.